So they packed up and crew, got a grip, came equipped, grabbed the proton packs from the back, then they split. Found out about Eagle, the master of evil. Trying to battle my boys? That's not legal. Yeah, I think this is gonna be another one of those fun ones. Hot soul.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hello, hello. This is Helen Kim coming to you from New York City. Introducing a new Mass Hysteria member. Not new. Adam Howard, ladies and gentlemen. Yay. We would call him, the captain of our group, I would say. The alpha.
Yeah.
Say hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yay. So, Adam, how are you tonight?
I'm good. We just had our last class show ever, I guess, or at least as far as the pit's concerned. We just had our second level 5 class show, and I think it went pretty well. The audience was good, and I think everybody had some really great moments.
I think we did have a great show. Now, Adam and I, along with Joe of Mass Hysteria, we went through levels 1 through 5 together. We're sort of siblings in that way. We grew up together. Let's get right to it. Adam, tell us about how you got involved with the pit and how you got involved with doing improv.
Sure. So I guess the thing that started it for me, or the catalyst, was I went to see my now friend, Joe Firestone, in a show she does with another really funny guy, Dylan Marin. It's called the Ridgefield Middle School Talent Night. It's a show they've been doing for a few years now. It's not improv, but it's comedy, and it's just the two of them doing a bunch of different characters. And I went to the show and I was entertained, but at the same time I was also kind of jealous, because as I was watching them I just kept thinking, this was something that I wish that I could do. And my girlfriend Amelia, sort of her infinite wisdom, encouraged me to go ahead and take a class instead of just sort of talking about how I wished I could do it. So I went ahead and enrolled in level 0 and promptly spent the full 4 weeks kind of second-guessing whether or not I was good enough to continue. Basically decided on a whim to try level 1, and that's really when things clicked for me. And I've definitely struggled a lot back and forth since then with it, but clearly I guess I sort of fell in love with it, and I really like the PIT program and the emphasis that it puts on emotion. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, as a person, because I have not taken level 0.
Right.
I just started right from level 1. For those of us listening, and for people who are interested in taking improv, would you say level 0 is a good way to get started? And how is that different than level 1?
Well, level 0, I feel like being involved in the pit and improv is very kind of almost like you're in a cult. I'm always encouraging people to do it, and probably a little too hard, and I'm always saying, you should really try it. You should try level 0 if you don't want to really go too far, because there's no show at the end of it, which was part of the appeal for me.
No show.
I performed a little bit in plays in high school. I never got a chance to do a funny part. My biggest part I ever got was in Midsummer Night's Dream. I played King Oberon, and the only reason I was told it was a student production. The only reason I got the part was the director told me I looked good without a shirt on. So that was essentially the only reason I got that part, and I hadn't been on stage in any real way since high school. So that scared me a lot. And level 4 it was a very basic, understanding the premise of yes and, understanding, how to support a scene partner. It was very bare bones basics, but you still did a fair amount for those 4 weeks, and it certainly was enough. I had enough fun, and everyone was so nice. I think that was the other thing that struck me, is I was expecting it to be a lot of sort of trained actors who would look down on me, and everyone there is so friendly and sweet. It's easy to continue.
Interesting. Now, on to our next subject at hand.
Okay.
Tell us about some of your influences as far as, it can be acting, comedy.
Sure.
Or I guess it would be relative to comedy as far as doing improv. What are some of your influences?
When I was a little kid, humor was like a huge deal in my house. Everybody was very funny and very outgoing. Everybody in my family is really into sort of snapping on each other. And believe it or not, I'm probably like the shyest, quietest person in my family. Bill Cosby was huge for me. I think The Cosby Show, watching that show with my family.
Which you do a great impression of.
Oh, thank you. But no, he was the first sort of comedy thing I really latched onto, and his stand-up is great. The storytelling, I used to listen to sort of his best of a lot. I think from that I sort of segued into Eddie Murphy was a huge deal to me. Coming to America, 48 Hours, his early stuff, Beverly Hills Cop, his characters that he did, and also his confidence. I've always been attracted to comedians or people who sort of projected a kind of a cool vibe. I think like Chevy Chase was somebody that I always wanted to be that guy in like Caddyshack and Fletch and movies like that. I just thought that sort of deadpan, wisecracking kind of person. And then when I got a little older, I discovered Steve Martin, who probably is, if not the biggest, like one of the biggest influences on me. Just his intellect and like the idea of a really smart person playing dumb is very attractive to me. The Jerk is one of my favorite movies ever. His stand-up is brilliant. And then, I think nowadays the people I really find myself kind of wanting to emulate or that I watch are people like Will Ferrell and Danny McBride. I was just saying this to you earlier, but I like people who sort of on paper would be reprehensible, but there's some inner life there that you can't help but kind of like these characters, even if they're kind of boorish or misogynistic or stupid or arrogant. To me, like Ron Burgundy is like the perfect character because he's this guy who is so pompous and so ignorant and all this stuff, but there's something gentle there too, and there's something just so likable about this guy who's technically you shouldn't like, and I think that's the kind of characters that I want to do. These kind of bastards is the best way to describe them.
Now, I know you have some, high school and school experience with being in plays and things and being topless as King Oberon.
Right.
And, as for your real life job now, you are a journalist working for NBC, or the Griot.
Sure.
Right? Now, do you think that helps you in your everyday improv, or is that something completely separate that's not even related to what you do outside of as a journalist?
I mean, I try to keep it as separate as possible. I mean, my coworkers get upset about this, and I've never invited them to my shows, and they get very...
You should.
I don't want to. I think part of it is at work. We tend to snap on each other a lot there, too, and there's a lot of people kind of taking pot shots at people's, like, eccentricities, and for whatever reason, maybe because I'm good at it, I usually get spared that, and I'm paranoid about how it would be received. And I think for me, doing improv to a certain degree was a way to have something separate from work. Because my job, I do enjoy it to a certain degree, but it's very grueling. I work for a 24-hour news site, so every day we're starting at zero, and every day you have to kind of have a fresh pair of eyes on the news of that day. So I guess in that sense, it is helpful for improv because, I have to be quick on my feet. I run the front page of the website, so there's a lot of kind of quick decisions that need to be made. But also just the kinds of stories we cover can be really insane, and sometimes stories I have covered in work have weirdly informed scenes I've been in, or just an idea from a story will like pop into my head because we'll cover a lot of really outrageous crime things. Just the other day we covered a story about a guy who for the 4th time was caught having sex with a teddy bear in public. And it's one of those things where it's like,
Really?
Yeah, true story.
Oh my God.
And it's like, if you made that up, or someone just told you that, you'd be like, that's ridiculous. But when you actually read the story, it's like...
I need to go home and Google this.
Yeah, it was, I don't know if it was the exact same teddy bear, but that's neither here nor there, so...
Tell us about some of our team members and how you feel about them. Or like one word or a phrase.
Yeah, I'll do a phrase or
that comes up that comes to mind when you think of us. So let's start with Alex.
Right. Alex is extremely feisty and sassy, and I think I'm amused when people say that she's like seems very innocent, because I've never thought that about her. And we have this I always joke with her that she brings sort of out the worst in me. We tend to gossip a lot and that kind of thing, and we talk on Facebook now almost every day. So I feel like when I think of Alex, I think of like my partner in crime.
Okay. Partner in crime. Joe.
I think Joe probably is someone that I have the most sort of similarity to as a performer. I think we both have some of the same issues and concerns. I think we both like to disappear into characters and are probably a lot more shy than people would think if they saw us on stage. But he's a really like sincere person. I think he's like just a very kind of upbeat, positive influence on other people. So,
Tommy.
Tommy is sort of not... I think the best way to describe him is like you can't judge a book by its cover, and not to say that Tommy's cover is not lovely, but Tommy is like an incredible athlete. He just kicked my ass in basketball this past weekend. He plays baseball, and he's sort of a jack of all trades. And I think a lot of times people perceive him as being sort of like a nervous, nerdy Nelly type of person, but he's not that way at all. And he's always game for anything. I think that's the thing I always think of when I think of Tommy. Is there's nothing that he won't kind of jump into feet first.
Okay. Becky.
Sorry, I'm being so long.
No.
Becky is a genius. I think Becky is a comedic genius, and I say this to her a lot, and I think it makes her embarrassed. But I genuinely look up to her, and I if I dream of improv, I want to wake up and be Becky, because I just think
I do too. I think she's hilarious.
Never seems to have a false note. She's
So
always
funny.
having fun. I've never seen her kind of collapse in a scene or give up in a scene. She's endlessly inventive. I'm terrified that she's gonna make a house team and leave us all in the dust. But I think she's a genius.
Dan.
Dan is a really sensitive guy. He's very thoughtful, very generous, very open-hearted. Probably the nicest boyfriend I've ever met in my life, and I've tried to be, and he makes me feel like a douche. I just think he has a great weird energy. He's very good at doing the deadpan thing, which I think is really cool, because I think especially with improv, there's an inclination to go goofy and big and broad, and he knows how to play right underneath that.
Okay, last but not least, Helen, myself.
Helen, you are, obviously gorgeous. That's been said many a time.
Well, hey, no.
No, somebody's got to bring sex appeal to the table, and I feel like you do that. But more than that, I think you're, an incredibly open-hearted performer. What always struck me, even from level 1, is you always were present for your scene partner and always gave as good as you got. And I can't say that about everybody I performed with. And I don't get to do scenes with you enough. But I remember that when I used to, or when we did, I always had fun, and I would forget that I was doing a scene. I think because we've hung out so much outside of class that I don't think about what I'm doing when I'm with you, which is good, because I need to do that more.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. Do you want to share with us what your favorite sound or noise is?
Forgive me for being crude, but I would have to say, a woman at sort of the height of ecstasy, I would say, is my favorite sound.
A woman moaning?
Sure, but pleasure moans, not like I'm being murdered moans. But yeah, I mean, whatever. I have no shame in my
pleasure of peak of ecstasy. I like the way how you put that.
Yeah.
That's great. How about your worst, the least favorite sound?
I would say it's not even really a sound. It's more of a thing that I witnessed a lot in New York. But this is kind of sad. But my parents were very strict, and I'm very sensitive to that. So whenever I see a parent kind of very brutally or aggressively disciplining their kid, either in a store, in a subway, I have a very visceral reaction to it. I even choke up sometimes, just because I think it's so damaging, and it's just the worst to see somebody jerking some 3-year-old around or screaming at them. I hate that.
It makes me sick to my stomach when I see that on the subway and just out in public. Now, if you can play any role in movie, plays, past, present, possibly future, what role would that be?
This is kind of a weird answer, and probably will be laughed at, but I would actually probably say Batman. And this is why I would say this.
That's a good one.
I'm not into comic books particularly. I don't mind those kinds of movies. But actually, I would say if I had a favorite movie, it's the original Tim Burton Batman. I love the Christopher Nolan ones, but I felt like that movie really got at an aspect of my personality that I understand. I guess I relate to the Michael Keaton Batman, because I feel like I'm a Gemini, and I very much have that two sides of the personality thing. My girlfriend routinely points it out to me, that at times I can seem like the most confident person in the world and the most self-hating person in the world. And I think that duality, that kind of dark mixed with light thing, I think would be really fun to play.
That's great.
And it'd be cool to fight people and all that stuff.
Well, with that, then, that leads to our next question.
Right.
If you can have any superpower, what would it be and why?
I used to always say the mind reading thing, but I think after I've been doing all these interviews with everybody else, I've had a chance to hone my thoughts on this, and I think there's this X-Men character. I just said I don't know anything about comic books. So when I said it. But there's an X-Men character I think called Rogue, I want to say. And I believe her ability is like she can touch other people and absorb their powers. And I think I would like to be able to do that. Flying is like not interesting to me at all. I think all I think about... No, I know. Everybody wants to fly. I think that's so lame. All I think of is like all the pollution up there and like, you know, I'm going to get hit by birds or something. But I'd like to be able to like touch a genius musician and like absorb all their ability.
That's a good answer.
Or like, you know, I wish I could like touch a book and just know everything that's inside of it. But yeah, I think I'd like to absorb like Becky's talent or other people's talent and make it my own.
That's great. Now we're just wrapping up here. Now, why should people come out and see Mass Hysteria and support us? If you have anything else you want to say about the pit,
sure.
About Mass Hysteria.
Fuck the pit. I'll talk about Mass Hysteria. You know, this is like a dream come true for me. You know, these were all the people that I had watched and admired and wanted to perform with, and I never in my wildest dreams thought that I could actually be in a group with these people, that they would have me. I do have to admit I constantly wonder if they really want me, but it's been a great experience, and we have a lot of fun together as people, and I think audiences pick up on that, and it's worth seeing.
I totally agree.
All right, thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Adam.